And now we'll insert our lateral incisor. Can't fight gravity. Okay. Lateral incisor goes in right next to it. Now lateral incisors have a little bit more curve to them, and they are starting to turn that corner in the dental arch. They are set a little bit more lingually in the central. And the way these teeth are waxed, in order to get the proper distal inclination, all you have to do is make sure that the incisal edge of the lateral is parallel to the incisal edge of the central. And I get my little occlusal plane in here. Check my clearance. Yep, I got 1/2 millimeter there. Just to be on the safe side, I check by measuring for sure. Yep, 1/2 millimeter. Great. We're on schedule. And once again, conform the wax around the neck of the tooth. And clean out a little bit behind the lingual surface. Okay. Once again, I go around, do some preliminary carving of the anatomy. Not only does this save you time in the final festooning and general prettying up of your denture when you do this, but it also makes it a lot easier for you to see what you're doing. I mean, if you got your teeth embedded in wax, you're going to have a hard time determining just exactly what the inclinations are. The canine's a fairly big tooth, so I'm going to have to make a considerable dent in the wax here for it to fit into. Okay, notice that I always stick the neck of the tooth in first. And then I sort of gooch it around a little bit to get it exactly to the position that I want. Base plate wax is reasonably soft and it retains heat for a considerable period of time, so you've probably got a good 15 or 20 seconds that you can play around getting a given tooth into position before you have to go back and reheat the wax. Now, 15 to 20 seconds doesn't sound like much, but you try holding your breath that long. That's a fair amount of time. You can do all kinds of things. Okay, cusp tips flat on the plane. Haven't lost track of our plane of occlusion. change something there just a little bit. You might have seen me lean on the incised ledge with my fingertip. It's because I wanted to assure that the neck of the tooth was located more buccally than the incised ledge. Looks more aesthetic that way. If you have the incised ledge sticking out, patients tend to look a little fangy. The Transylvanian look isn't all that popular among denture patients. Okay. Remember, this is wax. We can always go back and change things later if we want to. Be exact in the course of the wax-up, you'll probably go back and change things several times. But right now, we're concerned about getting the teeth into their basic sort of plain vanilla positions. And then later, we can refine the occlusion. And because this is going to have to be an aesthetic restoration too, get the patient's feedback. Some people don't want their teeth all lined up like chiclets in a row. And within the constraints of getting a denture that will fulfill our basic requirements of seating properly, being properly extended and retentive, and having the proper occlusion, you can do a lot aesthetically by moving the teeth around. Okay, so far so good. Let's try for the other side. Now this can do a lot for a patient aesthetically, is how you get these two central incisors related to one another. So it's very important to make sure that they, at least initially, line up parallel to one another. They can still follow that curvature of the arch, but their long axes should be parallel, otherwise they're going to look sort of buck-toothed or fangy, and not everybody wants to look like Trigger the Wonder Horse, so you got to make sure that you have the axes lined up properly in relation to one another. Try to make sure that you get all the green carding wax, that is to say the wax that held the teeth onto their little racks that they came in off, because that looks very unaesthetic in the wax up. It doesn't make any difference as far as that goes, because that'll all be removed as part of the final processing of the denture. But you walk in at the wax trying and you give a patient a look at a denture that apparently has green gums, they're not going to be very receptive to that phase of treatment. And you want to maintain that patient's confidence in you by showing them as neat and artistic a product as you possibly can. I'm going to use a little pencil here again to add some wax. Okay,